Good afternoon, Ashland. My name is John Petrin, Town Manager for the Town of Ashland. And today is Tuesday, November 16th, and welcome to another edition of Town Manager's Corner. Today I truly have a cast of characters joining me. I know I'm a character myself, but you have a cast of characters joining, and we're going to talk about equipment today and review our newest pieces of equipment in the fire department and in public works. So joining me on the show today, we have Mark Purple, Assistant Town Manager, Chief Bill Key from the fire department. We also have Michael Duca, who is the dispatcher firefighter. I know, that's, what is he? That's going to, take... Exactly. So Michael has really been the guy behind the new engine, so he's here to answer any technical questions that the chief gets stumped on. And we have Doug Small, Director of Public Works, and Martin Shapiro, citizen extraordinaire. And welcome back. We're glad to see you out and about, Martin, after having some health issues there. So glad to see you on the show today. So what we're going to talk about today first is we have our new engine. As many of you know, last year we appropriated $375,000 for a new fire truck in the fire department, and the old engine 3 is about 16 years old. And based on the article in the Metro West Daily News this past Sunday, it seems like engines are good for 10 to 15 years, and we got 16 years out of that engine. So I'm going to ask the chief to talk about our new engine 7 and talk about why we have engine 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and then we go to 7. A big jump in numbers, and it's more than that. He just can't count. It's there's a story behind it. So I'd like the chief to get into that.
Well, we went with engine 7 at the request of the men and women on the department in memory of Lieutenant William Fuller, who was a longtime member and officer in the organization, and he passed away, and he's actually been gone for 10 years now, and his badge number was 7. We retired that badge number from the rotation, and the guys just wanted to do something to keep that number going, because he's still truly an active and important part of the organization.
And also not just the engine number, 7. You guys did something really great with that window.
We were able. I don't know how well you can get that on camera, but you'll see that there's a photo that's actually in the glass on both sides in memory of Lieutenant Fuller. It really came out neat.
I just also want to point out the W6 next to Lieutenant Fuller, and that seems to be something that fire departments have been carrying now for just over 10 years.
That obviously goes back to the Worcester cold storage fire that happened on December 4th, I believe, 1999, where 6 firefighters in Worcester lost their lives. 3 of them happen to be very good personal friends of mine, so we have that on all the apparatus.
So what do we have here? We've certainly got a fire truck. Right. So, in my layman's term, this is a fire truck.
Right.
So explain into a little more detail.
This is an engine company. Its primary function is to transport men, equipment, water, and hose to a fire, structural or otherwise. We have some unique situations in town. The way some of the neighborhoods are laid out, the condo projects and so forth, so we had to spend some time on developing what we needed as far as a chassis, overall length, height, weight, that type of thing.
So a lot of this is based on turning radius and being able to get through some of our tighter corners and not having as large of a lengthwise, engine.
Well, for example, our engine 3 that we just replaced is 33 feet long. This is under 30.
Oh, okay. So this is a shorter engine.
Much shorter, right. And it was, again, thanks to the economy, if that's the right thing for me to say, we were able to really customize the specs to the town and get more equipment and more of a quality piece of apparatus for really less than we would have been able to 5 years ago.
So this engine in total cost was $367,000. $367,000 for this piece of equipment.
Right.
And I think if people, take a look, certainly engines have changed. I know in my time of being in a business of 30 years,
right.
30 years ago, having the open cabs or the small cabs and, on the back with the, the straps.
I mean, when I came on the job, we were still standing on the tailboards riding down the road outside.
And all that is now illegal.
Right. Right. It's not just the manufacturers that drive the cost. It's regulations, and they're put out by the National Fire Protection Association. And each community, when they buy apparatus, is bound by the specs that are in place at that point. It's NFPA 1901. And if you notice when they pan around the engine, you won't see any equipment that's mounted on the outside.
That's a big change, even
That's a
from
big
5 to
change.
10 years ago.
Right.
It used to be engines you always saw the various mounts. So now you see more compartments and
Right.
nothing hanging from an engine.
There's really nothing that's hanging on the outside. Everything's mounted inside. The benefit to that is, first and foremost, safety. We don't have to worry about losing a piece of equipment off the truck and having to hit somebody bouncing down the road. And the other thing is it keeps the equipment out of the weather.
So it looks like more of a box.
It is.
You know, than,
it
than
is.
the old days.
It's really required some changes in engineering and design. You'll notice you don't see anywhere on this engine from the outside, you don't see the ladders. But it has a full complement of ladders on board.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So-
And then when you look at the cab, you know, this is a 6-seater. I was.
This is a
noticing.
6-seater. It's actually designed to go up to 10.
Oh, it is.
It is. It's designed to go up to 10, but again,
Being retrofitted.
looking at what we needed to do here in Ashland, we felt that 6 spots was more than enough, and it allowed us to fabricate space for an EMS compartment. Because as you know, John, you never know what you're going to roll out the doors in,
Sure.
or so we're going to be able to carry medical equipment on it.
And of course, you know, these seats look like more, you know, coming out of a fighter plane, you know, these days.
Again, a
versus-
1901 requirement. You'll see that they're designed to basically fit the individual, but also in the back of those seats, their SCBA tanks are built right in. And it had to pass all kinds of crash worthiness and flying object type tests in deceleration situations. Also, this is one of the first generations where the engine actually has a black box on it. So every time you go out on a particular incident, it monitors everything. Speeds, turning, braking. In fact, this won't let you go anywhere unless every person in it, once it senses there's someone in a position, unless they're belted in. And you can't fool the machine. When Michael and I were out in South Dakota trying to do the acceptance test, we tried to fool it and we couldn't.
Okay.
So
So this was built in South Dakota.
it was built in South Dakota. It took a little over 11 months. Michael was very, very involved with the engineering and the design of the spec. And we made the trip out there and did the acceptance inspection at the end of last month. Ran it through all the paces and decided it met the spec. Michael went through it line for line. Took us a couple days, but they did an outstanding job. I think we only found 5 or 6 little digs that they had to correct, and they corrected it before it left the factory.
Michael, let's get you in here for a second. You were telling me as we were going through this, as camera guy Paul was getting set up, computers on this thing now.
There's basically 3 computers in the truck, and one runs in tandem with all of them. So basically when you start the truck, there's actually 3 tones. Before you can start the truck, you have to hear the 3 tones before you even start the truck. And then you know everything is in sync and you can leave the station. And
It'll let you know if there's a system out of
System
order
out
and whether
of
or not
order.
you should go.
you go. I mean, it's a panel indicator. It actually reads out and tells you exactly what's going on and everything's okay. The foam is all computerized. The pump panel is all computerized. And basically everything runs on a computer.
John, you remember the old days when you wanted more pressure, you went like this, and
Yeah.
you wanted less, you went like that. We can actually, based on the hose sizes we use and nozzles that we use, we can preset each line's pressure and just push a button and it'll go to it.
So which button do you push to get the robots, you know, coming out of
They're
this to
coming.
drag,
They're
you know,
coming.
to go inside the burning
They're-
structure and
they're
leave,
coming.
you know.
I have
Wow.
no doubt.
Yeah, this is amazing. So when you look down the side of the truck, And, just the panels to open this, it's no more of the doors,
Right.
swinging
That's
open.
That's one of the changes we were
Everything
able to make.
It's panel based, and then it gives you full access.
Right, and then you'll see in certain places in the truck, this is called track pack, Michael?
Track pack.
Track pack, we can actually mount tools, no more screwing things into the sides of the trucks. The brackets come, they pop right on there. Plus it allows us to
But you
change
had so much fun
configuration.
screwing things in, didn't you?
You never know what's behind.
Yeah, it's just amazing now with, I was playing earlier, and, all the little compartments and everything.
Those compartments, the round ones are for the tanks, for extra tank.
Oh, okay,
bottles.
yeah.
And this here, we haven't had the tools installed, but this is actually foam that you cut out, and then this tool goes here, that tool goes
Oh, okay.
there. And then it holds it in place. You don't hear it rattling around back and forth in the truck.
Yeah,
It
we're
stays in
trying
one
something
place.
different. We're trying to go
There's a few things-
a place for everything and everything in its place, rather than
I've
just
been in your
throwing-
office, and that's not something you believed in before.
my
so-
office is an example of the ladder on that's for sure. The other big thing in this, John, and I hope I'm long ago retired and they can prove me right, but this is a stainless steel body. It's 100% stainless steel with a lifetime warranty. So I don't think we're going to have the corrosion issues that we have with other pieces of apparatus, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm just amazed that, again, the closed aspect of the truck. And I've been around, fire trucks through my whole career, so, basically 30, 35 years looking at these things, and, started in the 1950s, and,
Right.
you had strap handles and everything. The ladders were, piled on the outside.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. This carries a full complement of ladders, which is again dictated by the NFPA, but they're right here.
Wow.
They're built right into the into the truck.
I noticed this color scheme on it. I forget where I was the other day,
Let me
but
just
I
say
saw
that I did not pick the
Yeah,
colors.
yeah. That was the first thing I asked you earlier, so.
Again, getting back to 1901, that NFPA standard, this is a new requirement for all pieces of apparatus, starting, I believe, in 2009. So
Okay.
we had no choice on this being on here. But Michael, working with the engineers, came up with some pretty slick ideas. One of them is this right here. When our hose is loaded, it'll come down into here, and all the hydrant valve assemblies and everything are out of the weather. It allows us to keep them all connected still, but again, it meets the intent of the standard being inside.
There's only one thing that when we wrote the specs for the truck, we go over lighting, NFPA changed it right in the middle. So the factory called me up and says, oh, by the way, we have to change the lighting package in the back of the truck. I'm like, why? That's not what I ordered. And he goes, you're 4 inches shy of lighting. So they had to change it to meet the
the
new
size, overall
just the overall
square inches.
size to meet the new NFPA spec, because it changed right in the middle of when we were doing the
But here's
specs
some
of the
more
truck.
Big Brother, John. Backup cameras and everything now, and it records it, and it's there.
And then the
know.
person.
Well, I know one or two of you guys that will, could use,
Yeah.
after some incidents over the years.
Yeah.
Well, you need one facing up, when you're going to hit the roof.
Well, this is, again, it's new to all. I mean, it's basic in its function, but how it functions is going to be a train-up issue for us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you were talking about the training that's going to be needed to get this truck in service.
right, Captain Boothby has been going over recommendations from the manufacturer, and he's developing a training plan to include a driver training plan.
Right.
Because this is so much different than the commercial chassis we've been operating for the last 15 years. So
I mean, there is a huge difference now. It used to be, here's the keys to the truck, drive off.
yeah, OJT
Now, yeah,
and hope
yeah,
you didn't
exactly.
hope
You
you
know.
didn't hit anything.
And now we do all these simulations. We had the simulation machine in town, 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Right, we
from
put
our insurance
we put
company.
100% of the staff through that, and in fact, a couple of our staff have gone and been certified as their EVOC through
Oh, have
Maya
they? Yeah.
to conduct that training, and we're going to be coordinating with Fenwell. They've been gracious enough to let us use their parking lot on a Sunday, where we're actually going to set out the course and run everybody through the paces.
They actually, in that machine, they actually changed the simulator to an actual fire truck
engine.
with the same turning radiuses and the whole 9 yards.
So they had that loaded in.
They had
and
that
you could-
loaded in. I
Yeah.
took it in, and let me tell you, it was close. It was close. It was
Yeah.
close. Reaction
Yeah,
times
we
and
just
stuff.
finished last week. We put 100% of the staff through.
Automatic tire chains, I see.
Yeah, the days of wrapping the tires in chains when it was going to snow are gone. They hang there. You flip a button, the chains drop, and it spins and goes underneath the tire.
Amazing. I bet you save a bunch of bruises and cuts on those.
Yeah.
Just from doing that.
I was never able, being as mechanical as a brick, I was never able to put a set of them on.
So, how many training sessions, Chiefs, is it going to take you to figure out all these dials and contraptions here?
Well, John, that's yet to be determined, because if we run into a situation that I'm doing this, something is going terribly wrong.
Yeah, right.
But no, I'll participate in the training with the guys as we go along. But again, the basics are there. But again, because of those requirements and advances in technology, the way we go about getting the water out is a little bit different.
Certainly a lot more LED, notices up here and valves and stuff than what we're turning in with engine
All
7.
of this goes back to
Engine
exactly
3.
what Michael was talking about.
Yeah.
It's the onboard computers. One of the things that we did different with this at only one of our other trucks, and it's only a couple of the lines, Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is we have the foam. We can deliver foam to every one of the discharges on this truck.
Okay.
Automatically, whereas before you used to have to take an inductor out, put it in a bucket of foam, try to draft it into that. Now it's all automatic, and we can just program the percentages that we want to have come out of it.
What do you think, Martin?
Wow.
Yeah.
I've been around a lot of airplanes. This thing is getting just as complex.
Hopefully that's not the case, but it certainly can be a little intimidating to look at. But I'm confident in the ability of our firefighters and our training staff to they'll be proficient, and we won't put it in service until everybody is 100% proficient on it and used to it.
So this is a 15-year vehicle, is
At
our
least.
timeline on
At
it,
least.
at least. Hopefully we get more out of it.
Right.
But it is a 15-year vehicle. But this is now going to be our primary engine,
Right,
correct?
right.
So people will see this as the first engine out
Right.
from the duty crew. So when the duty crew is responding, this will be the first engine, heading out from there.
We try to rotate about every 6 months, just so that not one engine is getting the lion's share of the work. But you'll see this one out there for probably 6-8 months a year as the first one out the door.
So this is our really first engine. Our other two engines are a 99 and
97 and a 2000.
a 97 and a 2000. So this is our first mainline engine in 10 years
Right.
in Ashland. So this
Right.
is replacing the 94.
You know, the other thing, John, and I thank the residents and the leadership of the town, this is the first piece of apparatus that we've been able to purchase that was in the programmed replacement,
Right.
where every other piece of apparatus we replaced was because the piece that was being replaced was on the back of a tow truck being hauled away. So it allowed us that time to identify the needs, to try and come up with the design and the specifications that met our needs and met the town's financial
Yeah,
situation.
you've been saying basically for 3 or 4 years we can get that amount of time out of the old
Right.
94 vehicle,
Right.
and when it came time, we were ready, to replace it.
Right.
And obviously last year, you brought me and said, I can't get another year out of this 94 because look at, the issues we've got.
Right.
And it's not ready for, the yard yet.
Right.
But if we keep running it as a mainline piece of equipment, it will be.
Well,
So,
and the
and that's-
ongoing maintenance costs.
Yeah, and that's the other piece, yeah.
This is a technical piece of equipment, and the maintenance requirements are huge, and we don't ever want to be in a situation where we have an incident and it comes
Sure.
back to improper maintenance.
Okay, great. Well, why don't we move over to Public Works vehicles here? And we got Doug Small, our Public Works Director, and Mark Purple, who works closely with him on some of these capital pieces. And these are our two newest vehicles. In the front, we have a basically a six-wheeler, which is, and we have a 450.
Yeah, that's a Ford F450. And this one here is an International large six-wheeler with the sander, flow and dump sander attached.
And these are basically the two types of vehicles as far as trucks,
Yes.
you know, that are our mainstay, you know,
Yes.
of the department. They're huge for various tasks, but this, of course, is geared out for both summer operations, for, you know, basically moving product, you know, dirt or so on. And then it's one of the big pieces for us in the winter.
Yes. Yes, we use this in the summer, or we use this in the summertime. It has it's called a flow and dump. This piece here, the dump body itself, and it has a conveyor in the back, and we cover the conveyor up with a steel plate in the summer, and we're able to use it as a dump truck in the summer. In the winter, we remove the plate, and so the salt will reach the conveyor belt, and then it goes out the spinner down there.
Well, why don't you show us here in the back? We'll bring Paul along with us. Paul Bowden, by the way, is our cameraman and usually is on the show here, so certainly want to thank WACA and Paul for their time in setting this up. So this is the system.
Yes, this is considered a flow and dump. It's a one
Okay.
piece, as opposed to the
can show the
older
olds,
trucks
yeah.
that we had, which were two pieces, which it had you actually insert the sander body into the back, into the dump itself. So this is one piece, okay? And as you see here, this is our conveyor right here, the conveyor, and it basically just, what it does is once you put the material into the back of the truck, it'll roll the sand or the salt or the mixture of sand and salt down into the spinner right here. This thing spins and it spreads it out onto the roadway.
Now this is automatically controlled now compared to the old one.
It's called a ground speed control sensor, and so basically the rate of the conveyor belt will go as fast as the gas you're giving the truck. It's tied into the speed of the vehicle itself.
So when you're sitting at a stop sign, you're not leaving a pile of
Correct.
salt because the conveyor belt continues to run.
Right. So basically, like Mark said, if you're stopped, no salt will come out.
So
of
on
the
the
truck.
old system, the belt just ran at a steady speed.
Correct, and you had to lift the lever in the truck in order to shut the belt off. So this way, it takes away the driver.
So this was put in service when?
This one here, I think, is about it's going into its, I think, second winter.
Okay.
Okay, and if you notice the body, John, it's more of the it's a tub body. So this one here is a tub body.
Yeah.
So and that just helps the
product, too.
material work down to the belt. We have another one that is more of a squared off body, and sometimes you'll lose the material gets stuck inside on the corner, so we'll have to go in there manually, just shovel.
So
the
this one's
salt
working
over.
better.
Yes,
In that
yep.
sense. And then behind this truck, you know, for comparison's sake, we just, this is still an in-service vehicle.
Yes.
And it's certainly one of our older vehicles. What year is this?
I think this is a 95.
95.
94, right?
And
around
you can
there.
see, you know, the difference between the old and the new vehicles here. And, you know, so you can, this is, of course, a sander body versus a dump body.
Yes, this is a Ford. This one used to have a dump body, but what happened is corroded so bad that we ended up removing the dump body and attaching the sander insert directly to the frame itself.
Okay.
Because of the corrosion.
So it's just, instead of being a two-way vehicle, it's now a one-way vehicle.
Yes.
And this will be up on our list to replace in the next year or two.
Yeah, this is one of two of the older sanders that we have available. And like Billy, like the chief was saying about the new engine, it being a stainless steel truck, that's a home run for the town. You're going to extend the life of the truck. these things here, the inserts here, these are all stainless steel as well.
But the truck wasn't.
But the truck wasn't. So here we are. You know,
And hopefully you can capture at home what we're seeing here, which is certainly a vehicle that has seen, you know, its day.
Yes.
And of course, you're running, this isn't just running in a winter with a little salt hitting it. This is carrying the salt, and a lot of salt is just coming through this vehicle at all times.
Yes.
And I noticed that when I've been here, you know, after a storm, you know, you guys are pretty meticulous at trying to get that, you know, that salt off, you know, the vehicles, you know, once they're done plowing and salting out there, so as it doesn't stay on the vehicle to try to, you know, maintain the life, you know, of these vehicles.
Yeah, we try to power wash the trucks after a storm to get the salt off the trucks, because the salt is a corrosive material, obviously.
So you can definitely see the difference between, you know, he's locked aside. But, you know, this is just in difficult shape when you get up close and seeing a lot of body rot in this vehicle. And of course, was it 2 years ago, we really had a problem with the vehicle, you know, that needed to be replaced and just wasn't. And Chief Key was talking about a capital plan. And all this is a discussion that we do have a capital plan, we do have a capital program now to turn over our vehicles in a timely fashion before they get to be a problem. And when we weren't doing that, like we had a couple of years ago, we had a person injured because the vehicle wasn't up to, you know, up to snuff, you know, with what we needed to be doing. So what we're trying to do is replace vehicles on a timely fashion, so that we're not buying, you know, 3 vehicles of that nature in 1 year. We're buying one every 3 years maybe, and rotating the fleet through so that you have newer with older, and so there is a financial plan, you know, tied to it. I mean, you know, having this new engine, when we had engines that were 94, 97, and 99, or 2000, I always say 99, and then, you know, replace one with a 2010, that's 10 years since we've had an updated engine.
Right.
You know, and it should be every, you know, maybe 5 years we're seeing some rotation, you know, on engine
And the
replacement.
added savings, John, the added savings there is the lack of major maintenance costs for the
Right.
first 5 years of that piece of apparatus. Not that there isn't maintenance, because there is, but you're not replacing major systems. Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, these are rough service trucks. When they're out there working, they're working hard. You know, it's not just a matter of age and the number of miles. It's the number of hours that
Right.
these things are running. So,
Yeah, and in your case, hopefully not in yours, but in your case, you're hitting those engines, you know, when they're getting to a call, you know, they're getting up to potentially a slightly higher speed,
Right.
but it's a hard speed because it's a lot of, you know, you're hitting,
well,
you
it
know,
goes from a cold
it go
start
start to,
go.
you know, to go, and you're moving that, and then, you know, the systems, when you're in a fire, you know, whether it's 10 below, you're still running all your systems on that truck, you know, right through while that fire is playing, and then your stuff is putting out the salt. And, you know, that certainly is hard wear and tear, you know, on a vehicle of this nature going
and we're
through.
lucky in town that we have, you know, Doug's staff, his maintenance staff, that can take care of a lot of the things for us. Mike, you know, he's on top of this stuff big time, and every day he's in my office. All right, we got to do this, chief. We got to do that, chief. But
You gotta get a door.
without that, we wouldn't see 10 years out of this apparatus. It wouldn't happen.
And
Yeah.
Mike, you could probably tell us some about all the changes in the fuels and the oils and how careful we have to be with these engines.
But the problem right now is like talking to John, we're replacing the 94. It's parts availability. I mean, alternator went out. All right, those are specialized alternators. They're 250 amps. It took me a week and a half to send out an alternator because I had to build one. And then
For 3
parts
times the cost.
availability, two times the cost. But now that engine's out for a week and a half because they don't keep some of the stuff on the shelf, the bigger, you know, for the fire apparatus. So you're looking at, you know, engine 2, which lost an alternator 4th of July weekend. It was easy for me to have it rebuilt than it was to call the factory and have me send one out. So 3 days instead of a week and a half.
Sure.
But the cost was better cost for me to have it rebuilt because it just rebuilt the whole thing.
What Dougie's talking about is the EPA requirements now.
Yeah.
I mean, these engines, you know, we're not exempt anymore, and we have to buy urea and additive, and it has to be put in there. So this thing here, don't ask me to explain what it means, but the computer will tell us when it needs to regen, and it runs the engine up to an unbelievable temperature to burn off any carbon thing. I mean, another train-up issue.
Is that the old days of Dad telling me to get on the highway and
Yeah,
blow out the
exact- pretty
engine a little
much,
bit once in
pretty
a while
much.
to get, get it up to
Pretty much.
speed to, blow the stuff
We
out?
just
Yeah,
part of this
things-
truck, but we just made the cutoff for this truck. This truck regens now after this year. The new rear system is going to be coming in on the 2010 because I believe Dougie's new truck is a 2000, which needs the urea. We just made that cutoff, but now you have an extra fuel tank that you have to monitor, and it has to be filled up every so many times.
But
So
what's
it's just
interesting
more
about
of
this
it.
regen, the truck stops, and it's not going anywhere until it regenerates, until it burns off the carbon inside. And so,
Or the computer takes over.
I mean, for example, it's terrible for like garbage trucks because they're stop and go, stop and go,
Sure.
stop and go.
So they're building a lot of.
Right. So like with our sanders at night, if we're out sanding all night, when the guys come in between rounds, they have to make sure they shut their truck off. If they leave it out there idling, this thing might kick into regen.
And then
And you're not doing a thing for 20 minutes or so until it's done regenerating or whatever the heck it is. It's all emissions and burning off.
They
and
found that
reducing
that
the,
was an issue for the fire service, so we have a way to, if it wants to regen, we can tell it, no, you're not. But the next available opportunity,
You
it'll
have
do
to have
it.
it done.
And, again, it's all of these things that, these added requirements, in our case, 1901, in Dougie's case, DOT, they give us a baseline where we have to start. We don't have any choice. And it seems like every time someone rewrites one of these regulations, it adds 2 and 3 and 4 and 5% to the overall cost.
Right.
It's
what,
amazing.
What impacts it's going to have? What impacts the gas is going to have to the engine? What impacts the diesel is going to have to the engine? And sometimes these big manufacturers put out these engines, they don't know yet. And then we end up, thank God for Mike or whatever, somebody like that will come along and say, oh, we need this additive. Or,
As you can see, there's a lot of passion in these guys when they're talking about their big toys and their engines. Boom, let's get going on that. And so on the Public Works, we're running what, 6 of these 6-wheelers?
we have 7 large
7.
6-wheelers and 1 mid-size 6-wheeler.
Okay, and on the what I'll call a 1-ton, the 450, how many of those are we running approximately?
Approximately 8.
About 8. So we're running 7 or 8 of the large. We have 8 of the medium-sized trucks, and then you have a couple of pickups. Not many of those.
Yes.
And all of these are snow and plow trucks in the winter. So the whole entire fleet is out there. And in a storm that's going to get you more than 4 or 5 inches, you're actually calling in more vehicles, the private contractors to come in and assist us, with the plowing, because it's still not enough of a fleet to get us going in the town.
Correct.
So, these are all things that we're replacing. How much was this truck?
This one here was approximately $150,000, and that included a plow and the belly scraper and the flow and dump.
Okay.
So,
And the 1-tons are running?
the 1-tons with the plow are probably approximately $50,000 to $55,000.
I'll sign off with that, and thank you for my guests today for joining us, and great show. Thank you.